Jake and I are working on Super Bowls and we're going to get out of the house. In this version of the game, I am not using visual stations to move Jake through the environment. We are a little bit past that, so this game is actually called Invisibles, where we kind of remove that, but I still have very clear destinations where I'm trying to ask Jake if he is ready to move forward. So what you will see is that we go ahead and we start off with our up-down pattern game. I place a treat at my feet, and if he orients right up towards me, I then open the door, and then I repeat. Place a treat, he looks at me, I open door a little bit more. So right here, you'll notice that once he ate the treat, he just sort of moved out the door without checking back in with me. And so we did a little bit of a U-turn away from the door. I did a cookie toss, and I'm like, hey, buddy, I really want you to check in with me to orient up at me before we get all the way out the door. So we're going to try again in a second, and you'll see the pattern stays pretty clear. There's going to be treat on the floor, eye contact, which tells me I can move forward. Yep. So he looked at the door before looking up to me. So I was just like, you know what? I'd like to have a really nice clean loop where he eats the treat on the floor and looks up at me. So instead of adding or raising criteria, I just kind of pause there and I'm like, eat, orient immediately to me, nice behavior chain, and then I will add to the criteria. Otherwise, I will just stay there. Notice right now he's eating and looking out the door, so I'm just staying stationary. We're not stepping to the threshold, we're not stepping outside the door, but he is absolutely allowed to look. This is how we help him learn that the environment is safe. He can look, he can hear, he can smell, but I'm kind of hanging back and being like, I get it, buddy. Good things will happen right here, but unless you can have a nice clean loop of eat the treat, look at me, we're not going to add more criteria. That one was really nice. We're going to step out the door and we're going to target right there. There's going to be a treat down on the ground. And even though you can't see Jake, you're going to be able to immediately recognize what he does or does not do. For example, in that scenario, I put the treat down and I know that he didn't have a nice clean loop of looking right up at me after he ate it. So we just came back inside. He got to chase a cookie. He's pretty relaxed in here with the door closed. The tail is wagging. I love that for him. We're going to go try again. I have kept a couple treats right by the door to make sure that if we do need to come back into the house, something is really quickly available for me to grab and toss for him to chase. And I want to make it really exciting to come back in the house if he is struggling with everything that is outside. And Jake does. He likes to yell at people and dogs walking, especially past the fence in front of his house. So here we're pausing. All of these treats help him learn that the environment is safe. He's allowed to look and smell and hear, and more treats happen. But until I see that nice loop, we don't move forward. And we're back in because I'm certain he was looking around after eating that treat. One of the things I love about this game too is right now as we work right in the doorway, I am reinforcing him a whole lot for just coming back inside. Walk away from that issue outside. You don't need to make a big deal. So currently, what I'm not doing is hanging out there and spending a lot of time treating and allowing him to look because he is definitely much more excited outside the door. I need to get a reverse video so that you can see his body language. So there we got a couple of treats and we move forward and we'll come back in a second. Yep, and there he is. Toss a treat off. So that moment when he went outside, I knew he was a little bit more loose and relaxed. So we stayed outside for a couple treats, even though the loop wasn't nice and clean. Eat treat, look at me. He's such a good boy. Even when he's jumping, he's so good. Not worried about him checking things out. I actually want to encourage this. I don't want a robot. I want a dog who's making good choices and telling me when he's ready to move forward or when he's just relaxed and engaging with me. Now for Jake, the last repetition went pretty well. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add the gentle leader to this repetition. because if we can get out the door and he's pretty calm and the behavior loop is nice and clean, eat the treat, look at me, we're actually going to head out for the walk after that moment, but we're going to do it on the gentle leader just to kind of help remind him that I like it when he doesn't pull and doesn't yell and doesn't chase scooters down the sidewalk. So we've made a big difference here. So right now, if I get the eat the treat, look at me loop, we would close the door, go off for a walk, but my walks are still slightly more
Let's
management
go.
oriented.
Good
And I'm going to
job.
keep the focus to our start button behavior right now, right within the doorway, going in and out of the doorway, because that's what Jake
Go for the
struggles with
walk.
the most.